Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome. Tonight, we're joined by Dr. Carole Pegg, as you will hear in just a minute, to deliver our second lecture in the Darwin College lecture series on the theme of song. Carole is an anthropologist, a folk singer, and a violin player. And she's currently affiliated senior researcher at the Mongolia and Inner Asia Studies Unit here at the University of Cambridge. She obtained an undergraduate degree and her PhD from Lucy Cavendish here and undertook postdoctoral work on the music of nomadic peoples in Mongolia, Inner Mongolia, and the southern Siberian republics. That resulted in two publications. The first, entitled Mongolian Music, Dance and the Oral Narrative, Performing Diverse Identities, which was published in 2001. And the second, Drones, Tones and Timbres, Sounding Place Among Nomads of the Inner Asian Mountain Steppes, published in 2024. And I'm sure we will hear more of that in due course. She's arranged tours for musicians from her fieldwork and produced CDs of their music, probably for sale at any good CD shop. Before becoming an academic, she was a traditional fiddle singer, and that is both playing the fiddle and singing simultaneously, something I could never accomplish, I'm sure. But she learnt to do that from traditional English performers, I believe. And she led a band called Mr. Fox that produced several albums and now has a cult status, so do look out for that too. She has recorded both as a solo artist and also with a throat singer. Unfortunately, Carole is currently unable to sing herself, something I'm sure we will all regret, but I think we will hear others do so, because she has developed a vocal disorder. But she has kindly agreed to deliver her lecture on the topic of throat singing, body, spirit, pathways, place. Please do join me in welcoming Carole to the stage. Carole.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Darwin for inviting me to speak today. It's a great honour to be here, and thank you for coming. So, I'm not going to present you today with a lecture on the technical aspects of producing throat singing. There's lots of academic papers out there that you can read about such things with acoustical data and illustrations of X-rays and MRI scans and sonograms. So I'll leave that all for you to look up. I come at it from a different direction, which is basically as an anthropologist of music and performance. I try to understand what throat singing means for the people who produce it, or shall I say, from whom it originally came, which is the Inner Asian nomadic pastoralists. So it's ethnography rather than etic analysis. Technology. So I thought I'd just start by bridging my musical self and academic self. So I have to say that for much of the 20th century. In Asia, and throat singing was not accessible to the West because, of course, Inner Asia was part of the communist bloc. So it wasn't until the Berlin Wall fell and the Iron Curtain went up that people were able to get in and out. That was 1989-90. But while I was still a professional musician, a couple of LPs were published. These are the rather fabulous sleeves of the LPs some of you might recognize. They were of field recordings made in Mongolia, in the capital, Ulaanbaatar, and made in the 1960s, and the LPs came out in the 1970s. So on the left you have the field recordings of Lajos Vargas, a Hungarian ethnomusicologist who worked with UNESCO to get himself to Ulaanbaatar. And he had a couple of tracks of throat singing, although he called it Jews harp music. Jews harp is ding, ding, that little instrument that uses a vocal drone and produces a melody. And on the right, field recordings of social anthropologist French Roberta Amayon. Again, she got to Ulaanbaatar and included throat singing. There were a couple of LPs also that came out from Jean Jenkins, who was an American who studied at SOAS and then became keeper of musical instruments at the Horniman Museum in London. And she brought 2 LPs out, vocal music, Mongolian vocal music, and instrumental music. And she clearly couldn't decide whether throat singing was singing or instruments. So she put a track on each volume to make sure. So I had that introduction in the 70s. And in the 80s, in the 70s, I was an undergraduate. In the 80s, when I started my research, French ethnomusicologist Alain Dejac brought his recordings from West Mongolia, again with throat singing. So this was my sort of inspiration to choose to go to Mongolia when I started my research, helped by the fact that Professors Caroline Humphrey and Orgungi Onon founded and began the Mongolia and Inner Asian Studies Unit. So I was able to join and head off to Mongolia. First of all, quickly, what is throat singing? Well, the popular view of it is that there is a drone, a sustained drone, and a solo performer selects harmonics from it, makes a melody simultaneously with the drone. In fact, that's one style, but it's the most spectacular style, and that's what people tend to think of when they think of throat singing. And largely, it's experienced in the West, in concerts and festivals, from professional musicians and some workshops. So we learn it and then produce it ourselves, and it kind of becomes a sonic icon that's floating around without its context, just sounds. I thought we'd start by listening to such a concert performance by a Tyvan musician who's very important to my own work, helped me in the field in Tuva and theoretically from some of the things that he helped me to experience there. So last year I went to a concert that he was giving in Amsterdam with the band Hunholtu, and sat in the front row and with my mobile shot this. So I hope it comes over okay. Yes. So Radik nomadizes in several worlds. In the global concert, festival, workshop world, in Tyvan as a professional musician, and also this is also him in his own time in Tyvan, when he often performs for the spirit owners of land. I recorded him on a trip we made across the mountains to visit his grandmother. He had learned throat singing as a child from family celebrations, from his father and uncle, and had looked after his grandmother's sheep, so had practiced two styles. So good, which is that style where you hear a very definite melody above the drone. And Carole, he'd practiced that in the countryside, throwing his voice across the steppes when he was looking after sheep. So as we made this journey, he had to keep stopping to offer throat singing to spirits at special places. This particular photo is in front of a ritual cairn, but he also performed to the spirit owner of water and wind, and even played along with crickets. So, on his way to his grandmother, he said, when I was in my grandmother's round felt tent, I used to listen to the sounds of different animals as they were being brought home. Of birdsong above that, the wind and the leaves in the taiga, the rain, all of these things make up the background of throat singing. It's not just a physical technique. It's difficult for Westerners to perform. You can't really learn throat singing in a room, in a workshop. When we arrived at his grandmother's, she said when she was a child, babies were lulled to sleep with one style of throat singing, and so good was used for champion wrestlers and the winners of horse races. So that's the sort of thing that my own research focuses on, is local practices and ways of being. And it involved me staying in a range of different fieldwork communities. I should have played that. That was simply to illustrate that when he's performing, not on a stage, it's less technically flash and much lower. It's just a different kind of experience. I should have let that play for you. Anyway, so the talk today and my experiences span two research projects. First one, Inner Mongolia and Mongolia from that, published in that book. Now, this map looks a bit complicated. It's taken from the first book, but it's quite useful because it also shows the other areas where I worked in my second project. So, Mongolia has a firm line around it in the centre. So first I actually went to Inner Mongolia. That's this area here. Those dotted lines are disputed borders. So Inner Mongolia is actually part of the People's Republic of China. That was 1987, 1989 to 98, Mongolia. And my second book, up in this left-hand corner, you can see Altai Republic, Tuva Republic. Nestled next to Tuva should be Khakassia. So what I did was plot the musical genres, and I discovered that there was a divide between those people living in the West and those people living in the East. And I did a key. The top bit is Eastern Mongols, but if you look at the bottom three, is it clear enough for you to see? It's bottom three, West Mongolia, end-blown pipe with vocal, drone, heroic, epic, and overtone singing. Now, as my research went on, I came to realise that throat singing applied to the vocal sounds in the heroic epic. It's just done with an open throat rather than changing according to style, as in Mongolian Khmer throat singing or overtone singing. And the end-blown pipe follows the same structure in the musician does a vocal drone and puts the harmonics through the pipe. So I broaden the definition of throat singing. So first I went to Inner Mongolia. In 1987, there was no evidence of throat singing. Now they have it because there's been interaction between Mongolia and Inner Mongolia. Teachers have gone and students have gone. So now you do find it. But while I was there, I discovered this genre called Chorindo, which I'll explain in a moment, which sounds very similar to throat singing, but isn't quite the same. But yes, I've explained the rest of that. So Chorindo was particular to this one region in Shillingol, in central Inner Mongolia, and these particular Mongols, Abaga Mongols, and traditionally it was performed in courts at these ritual cairns and in festivals and to entertain guests. I was very fortunate. I was considered to be an esteemed guest, and so this famous performer, Lejaf, came along. I was staying in a roundfelt tent with his family, and he performed with me. He sang a long song above a drone performed by his nephew. So let's have a quick listen. This is Rajab performing. So it's the subject of hot debate. Is that related to throat singing? And there was a bit of a drama when it was registered with UNESCO as Chinese throat singing. So 87 in Mongolia, 88 I brought a group of 11 Mongolian musicians, singers and dancers who performed in Westred Concert Hall, and Seren Dawa, pictured here, was the throat singing. I think some of you were even at that concert, and it was memorable because a member of the audience came up in the interval and said, "Where was the flute player?" So after that, in my home, he explained and demonstrated Mongolian styles of throat singing, all of which related to the body.
За уруулын коммунээс эхлэе. За одоо тагнан коммуник. Хамрын коммуник.
Cradle.
Chestний өнди хомыг.
Chest.
Homie or chest cavity.
So that's just explaining the styles. The following year, I went to West Mongolia, still communist, not yet had their peaceful democratic revolution. Travel for foreigners was restricted, but those musicians I brought here were able to help me. Should have said that last photo. You saw some mountains in the background. One of them was Mount Jalgalant, which is an important part of the myth of origin of Mongolian throat song. Anyway, here on the right is Tserendawa at home on Mount Jalgalant with hunters. And I was told the myth of origin, which is this mountain holds the wind, a western wind. It can hold it for up to 24 hours, and it drones. And that drone goes across the steppe below and is swallowed by the lake on the opposite side of Chandaman district. And everything beneath that sound is fabulous. Humans are handsome and healthy, grass is verdant, horses extra big. So it was the first clue that something was happening here. At that point, nobody wanted to mention spirit owners of nature. After that point, everybody always were performing for spirit owners of nature. So this was a sign of things to come. Tserendawa insisted that throat singing was a male tradition. It needed the strength of wrestlers, and there was a taboo against female performers who might become infertile or become ill if they did it. Fortunately, there are now people, I think we even have a member of our audience, or perhaps more than one, a female here who performs it. And throughout my research, I encountered Yulia from Khakassia and Chodora Tumat, who leads a group of all-female throat singers called Daughters of Tuva, and Raisa Madrova from Altai. So things have progressed. So I just wanted to play you a quick sound of this flute that is combining drones, a drone with melody. This, yes, West Mongolian Altai, Naransokt. So he explained that the sounds he made related to the sounds of the wind, trees, water and animals heard during his life in the mountains. And he used it for kinship-based exchanges with spirit owners of nature. In his case, he'd also taken from nature, he'd taken the materials for his pipe, willow, sheep intestine. Anyway, yes, gut. So bound the two holes with gut and then stuck sheep intestine. So he needed to thank those spirits for those materials. In my second project, I found the same thing with this performer who called the spirit owner of the epic to the performance and called the hero of the epic to the performance. He explained there are 7 Altai-Orienkai epics. Altai-Orienkai is one of the group's former tribes in West Mongolia. And those 7 epic heroes were manifestations of the 7 stars of the Big Bear constellation. And he would call the appropriate one to heal an appropriate problem. So the epic performer, using this Heilig name for throat singing, brought a different kind of spirit to the performance, who judged the performance, and there would be punishments if he got anything wrong. So I think I've covered that. This is an equivalent performer from the Altai Republic, did the same thing, called the same spirits to his performance. He's a with spirit epic performer, and that vocal tone is called Kai. It means to fly up or take off. With those sounds, he propels himself and his hero along pathways in middle worlds and parallel peripheral worlds, according to the epic's narrative. So, the recent book, I moved just north of the West Mongolian border into Russia, into those 3 republics, Altai, Tuva, and Khakassia. And what I realized was that when I was Mongolia focused and looking at connections made in performance, those Western Mongols connected historically to the Jungar state. They were oirats. They were very different from the Eastern Mongols who connected to Genghis Khan and Halch. His history, what I realized was that it wasn't only those historical states that they were connecting to, it was the fact the Western Mongols and those people in those republics and people in Xinjiang were relating to the fact that they were in the Altai mountain range or neighbours of it. The Altai mountain range goes for over 1,000 miles from southern Siberia right down, and the topography relates to the sounds of throat singing, because as transhumant pastoralists, they moved seasonally between the steppes and the mountains. I first encountered this relationship of topography and sound and vocal sounds in Inner Mongolia. So that Chorin door that we heard had above the tone, above the drone, a long song which was expressive of the grasslands of Shillingol region. And, another area. I'm going to the lower world. It's warning me I need to progress more quickly to get there. Yes, so let's move on. Okay, so it was during fieldwork with Radik Tülüsh in Tyvan that this concept, ontological musicality, germinated. I'd asked him, why is Hermie so important to Tyvans? His reply emphasised a sense of nomadic identity rooted in landscape, ecology, and the spirits of his homeland, which he tantalisingly referred to as a philosophy. His powerful sense of belonging and place, the elements that fed into it, and explanation were intriguing. So ontology is a branch of philosophy focusing on relations. It investigates the existence of individual humans in society and the universe, global variance in epistemologies, ideas, worldviews, cultures, plus nature, realities, and ways of being. Very fitting for my work, it felt. And musicality here links to timbral singing, performative bodies, human spirit communities, sonic pathways, and emplacement. During this second phase, I found, second research project, I found there were broader connections between throat singing and the human body. So this chap, Nogon Shumarov, who performed in the singing forest where there was a spring with a spirit owner, and it was the place where his lineage, his clan, his father, grandfather had camped in one season of nomadizing. He performed for that spirit owner, and then he explained the body and how it related to Humi and the tripartite animist division of the universe. So the lower world reaches from the epiglottis down to and including the sexual organs. This is deep bass Kargara Kai. That's their word for Humi. The middle world spreads from the epiglottis up to the nose. The Kai sounds produced here are altai. It's the sounds of milking and of nature. This is Humi. The upper world goes from the spot in the middle of the forehead to the top of the head. These are the high sounds of Sagot. As the project progressed, I realized that Humi, Hailach for epic performance, and Kai Chai, which is what Tyvan's Hakas call it, were used to interact with human spirit actors in multiple worlds. They were influenced by core indigenous ritual complexes, animism, epic performance, and shamanism, as well as the later arrivals of Buddhism and the Altean White Way. So, other spirits, we've heard how spirit actors are interacted with, but there are other kinds of spirits also interacted with as part of the social world community of these people. So, got to just shorten my talk for you because I have 2 clocks here and I see we're getting short of time. So I would like to play you part of the video I made of Sergei Charkov and his daughter Yulia, who performed for their ancestors at a Kyrgyz burial site on the steppes in Khakassia. They introduced themselves to these spirit ancestors and then performed a song in the tone, vocal tone, for heroic epic performance, for ancestral epic performers. So let's have a listen.
Bye.
short, but the full version is on the web companion that goes with the current book. So, just want to introduce you to this other spiritual complex in which Kai throat singing is used in the Altai Republic. It's peculiar to that republic, and it's performed in hidden mountain temples that are open air. So there you can see a series of stone altars. Women circumambulate the altars and attach white ribbons to the threads between the flagpoles. They do it first, then the men. Then the ritual leader, I missed that out. He performs at the fire altar using Kai. Let's have a listen. Got to go up the mountain. Cut him short. So just quickly, Arshan, as well as being ritual leader for the White Way, was a shaman and a state-merited epic performer. As a shaman, he explained he used only Sugut and Kargara. He could travel in all three worlds, as could this shamaness, I Churek. And the next shaman I'll show you, notice her gown. Because the gown forms an outer body and represents the pathways that the shaman can travel along. So upper worlds, feathers, lower worlds, snakes, and both Aichurek and Lasso used those gowns to indicate where they were going to travel with their throat singing. Global pathways. So, of course, these days we go back and forth and influence each other. There are problems and ethical difficulties. UNESCO works via states, and therefore Mongolian throat singing is registered, but Tyvan throat singing is not, because the Russian Federation, Russia, will not acknowledge the music of its minorities. The fact that Indigenous people come here, bringing with them their nomadic sensibilities given of chance. So Radik, before we left Mawson Road in a car, wanted to splash milk all over it, and before we descended from above Whitby to perform in the Whitby Folk Festival, needed to make offerings to Tungad. And Sergei and Yulia, when they played in Westroad, wanted to purify the concert hall. Of course, they have smoke alarms, so, or rather difficult. But they bring with them the chance to make us aware of their own Indigenous identities if we give them ways to do it rather than simply learning those decontextualized notes. And of course it's fun, but I'm trying to encourage you to perhaps take a bit more of it on board. I'm out of time. So if you want to learn more about pathways and place, it's written up in great detail in my most recent book, and I'm afraid I have to finish it there. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Carole. You've given us a remarkable glimpse, I think is all I can say, into what an extraordinary thing the human voice can be in this context of the physical environment, the natural environment, the spiritual environment.
Yes.
So thank you so much for that. As you say, we are out of time, but please join me again in saying an enormous thanks.